And Scott Bauer is joining us, the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy, jumping on the line on the phone. Scott, so obviously Treasury Secretary Mnuchin, pretty interesting comments. We dipped, and then BTC took off right after it. What do you say?
You know, he basically went on both sides of the fence, but I think net, it was a positive because as much as he put his foot down and said this needs to be regulated, it needs to be regulated like a bank. They have to have the same AML concerns as any other bank. He also said, and he repeated himself, that if they do follow all of this, then he's all for it. Mm-hmm. So I think what's happened now, Oliver, is the questions that we have had in the past about Bitcoin regulation. Is it part of the underworld? Is it part of the payment system of the future? I think that the public is now starting to grasp the idea that regulation really is a good thing, and Facebook, for instance, with Libra, is opening up to regulation, that's the only way it's going to be successful.
Now, that's where it gets interesting because I want to, at least in my mind, I think you have to separate Libra and have to separate Bitcoin. I know that it seems like Bitcoin is responding to this, and I think that within itself to see, that it actually moves on intraday catalyst is pretty interesting for Bitcoin. But it seems like Facebook, their messaging was that they're ready to work with the government. Mnuchin says that they have to work with the government. To me, that kind of positions Libra, if it does work for the government, as like the most likely front runner in terms of utility as an actual digital means of exchange. I mean, that leaves Bitcoin's use case kind of limited to the gold alternative.
Yeah, it does, but that's still I don't want to say light years away. It's still so far down the chain.
Of course.
Right. So right now, for the immediate future probably being the next 18, 24, 36 months even, Bitcoin is the go-to. Now, whatever regulation, whatever regulatory hoops and hurdles that Facebook is going to have to go through with the government, we know it's going to take time. However, this is all lending transparency again to the entire conversation of the blockchain, of digital assets, and that's what people want. And this is what they're getting.
Okay, here's the catch with it though, right? Is at the same time, we've got the Treasury Secretary saying we're going to go after anything that we think is a danger to the security via money laundering, funding terrorists, and that to me is obviously something that's only for the existing crypto market, whether it's Bitcoin or some of the other altcoins or Monero, stuff like that, that's been more closely aligned with items that some say lend itself to illegality. Is there still this risk that the government becomes a price negative thing if, let's say, we get an update on the DOJ's investigation to Tether, or it means there's no ETF? I mean, is government going after crypto a bullish thing?
You know what? Going after, I think you can look at it glass half empty, glass half full.
Yeah.
So to me, if I read between the lines, and it's hard to with Stephen Mnuchin, it's hard to read between the lines there. It actually seemed to me like, again, very strict. They're putting their foot down. Everything has to go by the letter of the law. However, if not only Libra, but perhaps Bitcoin and some of the other digital assets, I'm not saying the thousands and thousands of coins that are out there, some of them can actually, follow this protocol, then there could be a pretty bright future. Yeah. Now, we know it's going to take a long time, right? I mean, the regulatory hurdles that Libra, Bitcoin, anything is going to face, it is going to take a long, long time. But man, oh man, what a volatile spike we saw, both downside and upside, trading from over 11,000 to under 10. And then once the news was digested after Mnuchin finished, man, this thing shot up, 7%?
Yeah. And to your point, maybe you've got right there the expression of glass half full, half empty, right? I know the hardcore Bitcoin people will love the fact that the government sounds a little scared if I were to editorialize about these cryptos, but from a utility standpoint, it doesn't really help to have the U.S. government breathing down your neck. Last thought, Scott, in terms of how you might view BTC as a trade right here, any way you're positioned?
I think 10,000 was important, not for any sort of technical reason. It was important for a psychological perspective, that once it dipped down and then really came right back, you've got a lot of bulls, you got a lot of activity coming back into the market. I'm looking at CME futures right now. About 7,500 of those futures have traded today. A lot of activity. So I think for a short-term trade, you have to be bullish. Where it's going to be in 3 months from now, 6 months from now, I couldn't tell you. Short-term, though, I would not be surprised to see this thing make another run up at 13 grand.
Yeah, all right, and it'll be an exciting one if it does. Like your point there, it didn't last under 10K for long this weekend. Scott Bauer, always fun chatting some crypto with you, Scott. CEO of Prosper Trading Academy on the phone with us. We'll be right back.